I work in archives, and one of the interesting things about this line of work is it's become to me almost like an existential struggle against baser impulses of humanity when it comes to memory and use of information. I used to work at a university library, and I would be in the reading room, and it was and I would take reference requests over the phone and email because we had a repository of historical documents dealing with the Southwest. And it was interesting how many times people would come in just looking for information about something. Do you guys have anything about this or that? Which is good when you're trying to research a topic to be curious and I don't know, voracious. Voracious is a pretty good word, I guess. You ought to go and start scoping out what resources there are that would have what information you're looking for. But it was interesting to intuit over many of these interactions how people themselves intuit how knowledge and information is produced and stored and made accessible. I think the I think a natural human tendency is to just expect that knowledge of events is just kind of neutrally, magically produced and then deposited somehow, like sedimentary rock, maybe. That whatever you're looking for, there's just a way of going and finding a source that will just tell you this. And I think that plays into how people read books so simplistically and so credulously. Certainly, I would say how people read scripture so simplistically and credulously. Here it is in the book, and maybe this is a kind of a vestige of the process by which literacy has spread to basically practically conquer the world, but it's kind of a more recent historical, social mass social literacy is a recent historical development, not to mention literacy itself arguably being the proverbial blip on the calendar for the human species. um, as is said, sometimes we have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. And part of the problem with this godlike technology, it's not really godlike technology, it's in some cases, but in the cases of large language models, it's idolatrous technology. And people have this, we've been primed for, with 20 years with um, web searching. Rest in peace, Google's search engine being useful. But we've been primed for this, to encourage and pander to this base tendency in this to develop this attitude that there's a source, there's something that I can just go and ask uh, a question about anything, and I should just be able to get some source immediately, easily, that will just tell me without need for investigation or thought or examination or anything. Just tell me what happened. Tell me what it is. Tell me what the facts are. And so this is just a reflection and a reminder that that is not how knowledge works. That is not how memory works. That is not how the knowledge of events gets recorded, captured, produced, passed down, made available. In all those steps, there is possibility of error, deviation, neglect, loss, and this is the kind of thing that Everybody ought to be learning as a matter of course, as just part of the foundation of critical thinking to make you a citizen. It's the sort of thing that I wish the public school system would exemplify and instill in its instruction of young minds, because I think it's possible and desirable to train young minds to think this way and to have this kind of caution and imagination about how knowledge works. I wish I could trust that this were the case in public school. My experience and my intuition is rather that it continues to pander to the base nature by just saying, open up your mouth, here are the facts. Now go and put them on the paper to get a high score so that we can get our funding.